Hey, what is up everyone? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, for 3.18 Sentinel League, GGG said there was not going to be any changes for any of the classes. So this means that we are going to pretty much have the same meta as the previous league, and by knowing this we can start to do some preparations. So for this video we are going to go over some different money methods that you can do and earn some easy exiles both early and throughout the whole time in the upcoming league. Before we jump into the different methods, just a quick reminder to hit that like button and also consider subscribing to the channel if you find this video helpful. And with that said, let's begin. The first method that I got for you is crafting +1 level to fire on amulets. And this is used for a lot of builds, but the main ones that we are focusing on are the explosive arrow ballista and righteous fire builds. These are two very popular builds with a lot of variations, and the demand of these amulets will be huge for a new league start. To get these, we are mainly going to use scorched fossils with a resonator. Combine these and use it on the amulet. And you can also use harvest to achieve the same goal, just by using the fire crafts on the amulet instead. So what bases are you going to use to craft on, you might wonder? So first of all, the item level needs to be at least 75 or more to have a chance of getting that +1 to fire skill. And ideal, you want even higher item level for a higher chance of getting better additional stats. But 75 is the bare minimum. So this means that these bases will be available quite early on. They do start to drop around mid yellow maps, and I believe from normal mobs it's tier 8 maps. We also want the amulet to have either Shaper or a Hunter influence for a chance of getting some fire damage over time multiplier as well. And as you can see, for the tier 1 multiplier you will need a base with at least item level 80. Nothing required, but it's still good to know. These two stats are the main thing that we are looking for, and if you do manage to get some life or maybe some resist as well, that's even better. So by using a scorched fossil will increase the chances of us hitting those fire multipliers on the item. Keep in mind that by doing this might get you the added fire damage to attacks, and this stat is a no-go for most builds because it do break the elemental equilibrium proc that most of these builds are using. You can try and use an Orb of Annulment if you do get a amulet with some good mods, or you can try and sell it cheaper, so the buyer can then try and annul it for themselves. This method is mostly going to work for the first 2 weeks roughly, and then the prices for these kinds of amulets will drop. The second crafting method is going to be about crafting ward gear, and this is going to be focusing mostly for the ward look builds out there that's been really popping off in the previous league. This is going to include the runic crown, the runic gauntlets, and also the runic sabatons. To get these items, as the previous, we are going to use fossils, but this time we are using the dense fossil instead. And this is also working with harvest crafts, but using the defensive crafts on the item instead. To get the most possible ward on the item, you will need an item level of 84. But no worries, the next best thing is at item level 78. And by choosing the lesser item level, it is a 9% increase loss, so it's not that important for us in this case, but it's good to know nonetheless. And these items can be obtained from Expedition, but due to the popular currency methods with just expeditions, a lot of players will do these, so there will be a lot of bases in no time. And also in 3.18 they made it so there will now be easier than ever to target farm the content that you prefer to play, so aka more expeditions overall. For stats, we're looking for as much ward as we can get, and everything else is pretty much just a bonus, such as resist and attributes. But there are some different kinds of thresholds that we want to hit for each different item. So for the helm, I usually go for at least 500 ward, and for the gloves 400, and the boots 300 to 400 depending on if you get a good roll on a move speed or not on it. Keep in mind that you can't craft any ward on the item using your craft bench from your hideout. This means that you need to get the ward directly by using the fossils or harvest craft from the start. This method is going to work throughout the whole league pretty much, and is probably going to raise in price all the way to the end depending on how popular these builds will be in the next league, but as GG said, no changes. Next up, I want to talk about Incursion, or more specific, a special item that can drop from within. And this is a body armor with the Guetalizzi mod. And this is granting both a flat and a percentage life modifier. And what makes this body armor so unique is that you can also do extra life and mana craft on this. So you can have up to 18% extra life. This makes it some more desirable. Checking on PoE trade or set up an alarm for a good base can be very profitable. What I like to do is to include some spell suppression, at least tier 2, and then also adding a tier 2 resist of any element. And also it needs to have an open prefix for the extra life craft, or if you want to prefer something else. You might be surprised by how many of these that were actually put up on trade. I usually got mine for between 5 chaos to 20 chaos at the last league, and I made quite a nice bit of profit by only reselling them. And you can also do some gambling with these and make it a Eldritch influence item by using, for instance, an Eldritch Exalt. And this will add you one extra suffix if you do have an open spot for it, and if you're lucky and you are hitting another resist, the price will now skyrocket. There are quite a bit of items that you can keep an eye out on trade, but I like to include just this one for being quite unique. This method will work for the first 2 weeks or so of a new league start. Next is going to be about buying and selling in bulk. So here you can make quite a bit of currency just by buying different kinds of crafting currencies. Let's say you do fossil, which is a very common one. For example, corrid, bound, jagged or dense fossils are different ones that will always be in high demand. So if you're buying them cheap and then save them up until you have like 10 to maybe 20 or even more before you sell them. Let's say you buy a fossil for 1 chaos each, and then when you have 20 of them, you put them up for the trade for 2 chaos each. And I really guarantee that these will sell. A lot of players, me including, if you can save some time from trade by buying more in one go, they will be 100% worth it and will gladly spend some more currency just to skip that process of having to trade multiple times. As I said, this works for not just only fossils but all kinds of different things. You have essence that works really good, some better than others. Same for catalysts, will work as well. And another thing is buying fragments for, let's say, the Elder and Shaper. This is a way of earning some extra currency just by buying different kinds of fragments and then selling them in a full set instead. This method will work out throughout the whole league pretty much. The prices will probably rise after the first week or so, when more people are reaching higher levels and start to spend more on crafting. And for the last tip is going to be investing in Exalted Orbs. And by this I mean that you should buy Exalts early on in any league, because they will nearly always rise in price. And I do say nearly always, because there have been some cases where they've been dirt cheap, like in Heist for instance, where they went from 90 chaos in week 1 to around 30 to 40 chaos in week 4. But almost always the price will rise. So what I like to do, if I have the time for it, at any league start I usually go and do the chaos recipe for the first 2 days. And then I do invest all the chaos in Exalts. And if you wonder what the chaos recipe is, go check out my other videos where I do explain it, how it's done. Link will be in the description. This method can be done throughout the whole league, but if you do really want to earn from it, you have to do it pretty much at the first or max the second day of a new league, while the market is still new and fresh. So if you manage to buy a couple of Exiles on day 1 for, let's say, 50, 60, 70 Exiles, and then you wait for 1 week, I guarantee you that that price will almost have been doubled by then. And there we go, everyone. I hope these tips might help you out in the upcoming league and maybe in the future ones as well. And if you have any other tips yourself that you want to share, please do so in the comments below. If you did find these tips helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, it do help out a lot. And good luck in the upcoming league, everyone, and with that out of the way, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!